Hi, everyone. I'm Laura Ingraham. This is the Ingraham Angle from Washington tonight. Thanks so much for being with us. The phony democracy defenders. That's the focus of tonight's angle. All right, just as they scrambled to stop the rising Trump campaign back in 2015, they're back in strafing mode again, making wild and scary predictions.
Trump is promising to resort to an authoritarian tactic should he become president again. If you don't think he is dying to silence his critics in the media, think again.
His top priority, if he becomes president again, is vengeance.
Donald Trump uses Nazi terminology to dehumanize his opponents.
Now, the headlines are so bad, they're actually funny. From the New York Times today, why a second Trump presidency may be more radical than his first. While he has long exhibited authoritarian impulses, blah, blah, blah. You get it. Now, over the weekend, Trump responded in a speech in Iowa, cleverly turning the tables on Biden.
Over the past few years, you've watched Biden and his band of Marxists, communists, fascists try to crush free speech, censor their critics, criminalize dissent, destroy attorney-client privilege, and even attempt to imprison their leading electoral rival by far on bogus charges. That happens to be me, in case you forget. Happens to be me. But somehow I'm not worried. I'm not worried. That's why we're doing this, because we have to straighten out our country.
Of course, the New York Times poo-pooed President Trump's attacks, saying Mr. Trump's accusations against Mr. Biden, which he referenced repeatedly throughout his speech, veered toward the conspiratorial. He claimed the president and his allies were seeking to control American speech, their behavior on social media, and their purchases of cars and dishwashers. Okay, I was reading that going, how is any of that untrue? It's totally true. Now, it's good to see that Trump was pushing back on that charge that American populism is somehow going to lead to some sort of dictatorship. It's ridiculous. They cite Trump's plan to take power away from unelected bureaucrats by turning a larger portion of the federal workforce into political appointments as a real problem. Apparently, their argument goes like this. By giving the president more power over the federal bureaucracy, we would be marching toward a dictatorship. But think about this for a minute. In the first place, it's nice to see that the media finally admits that unelected bureaucrats wield a significant amount of power, just as we've always claimed. But now let's have a serious conversation about whether that's appropriate. Biden's supporters want to make sure that those bureaucrats are not chosen by the president or any elected official. They want a system whereby the bureaucracy hires its own members and promotions come from within. Now, remember, all that power held by unelected bureaucrats is wielded as the bureaucrats themselves want, not as the voters want. Welcome to the administrative state. Now, of course, the press would tell you that bureaucrats are proud civil servants, they're trustworthy because they are chosen by a neutral process, and they're supposed to act in accordance with the law. But no one, not a single person who knows anything about how Washington works, believes that our bureaucracy is neutral. Everyone understands that the bureaucracy is just another branch of the Democratic Party. Now, for as long as I can remember, it's always been socially progressive, like the Democrat Party. It's always had a weakness for China, like the Democrat Party. It's very friendly to plutocrats who donate to the right politicians. And like the Democratic Party, it despises middle America, who it sees as fundamentally evil. Now, ask yourself this. At the Department of HHS, Health and Human Services, are they going to promote pro-lifers within the federal bureaucracy? At the Department of Education, are they going to promote people who believe in homeschooling? At the Department of Treasury, are they going to promote people who worry about the trade deficit? At the State Department, are they going to promote people who don't trust the EU or the CCP? And at the Pentagon, are they going to promote anyone who opposes having a woke military? Of course not, to any of those questions. We know that in every one of those agencies, you cannot reach the highest levels of the bureaucracy unless you buy into the woke establishment agenda. And what that means is obvious. If the American people vote for, like, the run-of-a-mill president, the weasels burrowed into the bureaucracy won't cause him or her too much trouble. But if the American people vote against the establishment candidate, then the bureaucrats will fight the president every step of the way. Now, time and again, the media told us how brave the souls in the bureaucracy, how bravely they fought President Trump. Remember Alexander Vindman? And once again, the allies of the permanent bureaucracy are trying to frighten you, saying if Trump wins, the world as we know it will end.
You think this is a vote about whether or not we still have democracy in this country?
It certainly is, you know, and Donald Trump has told us exactly what he will do. He will not abide by the rulings of the courts. He will certainly appoint people to office, whether or not they can be confirmed by the Senate.
Oh, really? She's worried about that? Well, I didn't hear Liz kick up any dust when the GAO ruled that the Biden administration had allowed 5 appointees to serve unlawfully, 3 of whom were still in their positions as of last February. By the way, the posts all needed Senate confirmation. And then, even though Trump left office per the Constitution on January 20th, 2021, the Trump derangement sufferers have to leapfrog to 2029.
Do you believe if Donald Trump were elected next year that he would try to stay in office beyond a second term? That he would never leave office?
There's no question.
You think he would try to stay in power forever?
Absolutely.
Forever and ever and ever. What a silly woman. You notice how she never makes a positive case for anyone else or makes any substantive arguments against Trump's economy or his views on foreign policy or argue for spending cuts. Does she ever do that, or has she ever taken on the bureaucracy? Well, this is because Liz and the 13 Republicans or so who think like her actually like the appearance of a democratic process, one where the government remains a system where the voters get to choose certain officials, but where the permanent bureaucracy carries out the orders of the Democratic Party, no matter which party has the White House. We know what their idea of a perfect representative democracy looks like. The DOJ works to every channel to put the president's chief opponent in jail. The DOJ flags parents who protest at school board meetings and devout Catholics as well. The DOD purges staff who aren't on board with the woke agenda. And of course, the ATF, they try to turn lawful gun owners into criminals. They censor people with bogus misinformation labels and so on and so on. Liberals and the completely deranged never-Trumpers love this setup. And they don't want someone like Trump to expose the scam. They're so funny. They try to scare voters by warning if Trump wins, there'd be mass resignations.
A lot of people who would gum up efforts by Trump and Trump's people to subvert democracy will just simply quit in disgust or horror or whatever you want to call it from places like the Justice Department and so on.
Oh, bureaucrats would quit? Oh, that's a big loss. Here's the bottom line. Democracy should mean a system in which the voters have power. In our country these days, it's a system whereby the government can be used against the people. So President Trump is right. That system has to be changed. And the louder the press squeals about this plan to take power from the bureaucrats and give it back to the voters and the officials they choose, the more you can be confident that he's right and they're wrong. And that's the angle.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.